Okay, today we're going to discuss about a new section, virtual network traffic routing, right? So we just had a look previous week how we enable and resolve name resolution, but we're going to start looking into vnet routing from this week, right? Uh, Routing means actually transfer one packet from one place to another place. Like, let's say you want to go from your home to a supermarket or something. Let's say you have to go with a bus. So uh, when you go to bus hold from your home, there are so many different buses are coming, like with the different um, boards. This says this one goes to the city, this one goes to school, this one goes to beach, that one goes to the supermarket. So you just need to get into a bus where uh, your supermarket, that the route is in between your supermarket and your home. So you get into the right bus, you can drop from right place, but if you get into a wrong bus, you're going to end up with a different point, right? So in a virtual network, as you see, uh, it's a bit of a different from your on-premises network. So Azure virtual networks got their own rules, right? And we just need to understand these rules uh, when you implementing a system, or when you're working with the system, or when you're trying to connect into the system from your on-premises network back to Azure, or from Azure back to on-premises. So you should be able to work it out how this uh, routing works. So I just opened this first part of this video. I'm just going to explain some sort of routing. How does it work? And then we're going to go to Azure portal, and we're going to build the same system, whatever we've been using, and we're going to experiment. We're going to find out uh, how these routes appear in Azure Virtual Network. So, as you can see in this article, in the Microsoft article, just open in there. So, when you're creating a virtual network, vnet, in a certain region, right? Azure is going to create your um, sort of system routes, right? Behind the scene, like in the background. So, I mean, let's say you're creating let's think about some city. When you create a city, you already got some rule, like already got some roads for important place. It got a main highway and sort of a few different other roads to go to different cities. So it's just like let's say you got a development in a uh, housing scheme. So so we're going to they're going to create houses, and then they're going to underlay with the development of that housing scheme. You already got some roads, already some routes. So this is the same like when you're creating Azure virtual network, like let's say you create a virtual network called vnet 1 or vnet east US or whatever. Let's say you created a one vnet, so it is going to create some default routes, right? And one thing is like a housing scheme. So it going to create road for each local houses, right? So the system routes means default unique to a virtual network. So when you're creating a VNet, it will create a routing inside the, let's say, you create a virtual network, right? VNet 1, and then you create three subnets inside, three three different subnets inside that one. Like we created a service subnet, and we created a web subnet that is just like internet, and then we created a client subnet. So it's just the same thing like when we creating the subnet, Azure will create roads in between them automatically. Like, I mean, let's say, uh, let me open my, so in this head office VNet, right? You created head office VNet, and then you already created the server subnet, and then internet subnet, and then a client subnet. So you don't need to do anything especially customized or manually to go traffic in between these three subnets. So internet subnet, PCs or virtual machines already in internet subnet should be able to go to a server subnet without any modification. These three, among these three, there's no any barrier in communication unless you put some sort of network security rules, and then you block them. Otherwise, Azure created automatically these networks, right? So see that system routes, Azure automatically creates system routes and assign the route to each subnet in a virtual network. You can't create system routes, so we can't do that. It's automatically it will get created. Let's say some company is developing a housing scheme. So when they decided each block in a house, they develop the roads. Once you don't need to tell, hey, my you don't need to tell that housing company, hey, I bought a house in that land, and one of my friend also bought a house in that land. So I don't need to tell the company, hey, I need a road to go to from my house to my friend's house. The company is going to develop that one automatically. It's a similar thing, like it will create your infrastructure facilities, whatever default, right? And that is one thing. Azure automatically creates system routes, assign the routes to each subnet. So you can't create or you can't remove them. You can't remove that road. So let's say you want to create a new road, you can create a new road to some destination, but you can't remove existing road. It's going to be there all the time, right? So overriding you can do, as you say, is, some system route, customer route. Um, so sometimes when you creating a sort of a new or when you adding a new features, so it is also going to create some optional routes, right? Optional default route. So one example, like if you're creating like a peering, peering. So when you're creating a peering, Azure add optional routes to each subnet in each VNet. So to make sure that all subnets will knows how to go to, just like say you got a housing scheme A in here, and there's another housing scheme in about 2 kilometers away, right? Let's say one of your friends got a block in there, and your block is in first housing scheme. So when they're creating let's say you're creating a road, like peering road in between housing scheme A and housing scheme B, right? And then what will happen? Uh, you automatically going to know there's a peering in between them, and you will automatically going to know. So they will let you know, hey, there's a new route to housing scheme B. If you want to go from here, here's the way to go. So you go to from your house to a certain uh, point, and then that point to the other point is the peering that will connect the housing scheme A and housing scheme B. So that's how optional routes, they're going to add optional route, right? So if you have a look here, the default routing, you can see unique to a virtual network. So first one is a virtual network inside subnet. You can do second one is default is internet 0.0.0.0, right? And they are internet subnet. And then by default, these subnets 10.0.0.0.8 and 172.16.0.0.12 and 192.168.0.0.16 and 164.0.0.10. So these are none. None means packets will drop if the destination is these subnets, but it's going to change automatically if you assign one of them to none to virtual network. Let's say you're going to assign 10.10.10.0.0.0.8 to one of these virtual network. So then it's going to change its destination next hop type to none to virtual network. That means it change virtual network rules going to be applied to that one, right? So see that if this is traffic routed to none is dropped rather than routed outside the subnet. Sure. As you automatically create default routes for following address prefixes, right? What it says, if you assign any of previous address range within the address space of virtual network, as you automatically change the next hop type for the route from none to virtual network. That's the difference. So when you assign that, it's going to be changed into none to virtual network. See, the other optional default routes I've been talking is listed in this table. So it says next hop type virtual network peering. When you create a virtual network peering, Azure will create optional route for subnet within the virtual network. That route is added to all, right? Both subnet will going to know, hey, we got a peering from here to here, vnet A and vnet B. When you're creating a peering between vnet A and B, both of subnets in vnet A and vnet B going to know, hey, there's a route from A to B, there's a route, and B also know B to A, there's a route, right? And the other one is when we're going to create a virtual network gateway in the future. So virtual network gateway also is similar, right? Subnet's going to know, hey, there's a virtual network gateway from on premises to here or here to on premises, right? And only the other one are going to be optional. We're going to discuss later virtual network service endpoint, right? Private endpoints or something like that, right? It's only the subnet for which service endpoint is enabled going to know that service, not every subnet, only the subnet which we're going to enable service is going to knows that, right? And these are the sort of default routes I'm going to discuss. So next, come up with the custom routes, right? Custom routes we're going to discuss in a separate. video with NVA, right? Network virtual appliance. Going to put a uh, Linux PC IP forwarding enabled to show you how do we override these default routes, right? Okay, I think this is for today's video, and we're just going to uh, check these routes from next video going into Azure portal, and I'm going to show you these all routes and how they work, right? Until then, thank you very much.